Hi, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2. I do thank you for tuning in, and peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now we are going to get right back into for women only what you need to know about the inner lives of men. We are in chapter number 2. This is going to be take 3 of chapter number 2. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're in the section entitled, Don't Tell Him How. And it goes like this. The movie, The Natural, provides a powerful example of a woman's respect for a man. Robert Redford plays an amazing baseball talent who, after mysteriously leaving his girlfriend and dropping out of sight for years, has finally gotten to the major leagues. After taking the world by storm, he suddenly hits a humiliating slump and starts doubting himself. In this powerful scene, his old flame watches from the stands as he strikes out again and again. When the dispirited Redford comes up for his final at-bat, to scattered boos from the crowds, not crowds, but from the crowd, she suddenly stands up, alone in the stands. Somehow he senses her presence, awakes from his slumber, and slams a home run, reigniting his passion and his game. One man, explaining why he loves that scene, said, "She just stood up and supported him. She didn't come down from the stands and tell him what to do or how to fix what was wrong. She didn't tell him how to hold his bat. She just supported him and let him figure it out." Another man agreed. "She stood up and publicly said, 'I know you can do it.' For any man, especially if he is in a season of self-doubt." Just a season. That's not in the book. That was my ad-lib. That is exactly what he needs to be able to hit a home run in life. She stood up and publicly said, "I know you can do it." For any man, that is exactly what he needs to be able to hit a home run. Ladies, it is so easy for us to bristle at this idea and say, "Why can't I tell him how to hold his bat?" We're equal partners. What if I know how better than he does? Well, of course, you can tell him. Most of us are perfectly competent to advise our men in all sorts of areas. But remember, he's the one up to the bat, with his feelings of competency on the line. True advice usually isn't a problem, but advice can quickly become instruction. And there we are again, trying to get in the batter's box and do it for him, implying that he can't do it himself. But what if you don't want to stand up for your man? What if he has so disappointed you that you feel that supporting him would just condone his mistakes? As another man pointed out, that movie scene is a powerful illustration of what can happen when a woman chooses to honor and respect her man publicly, even when he may not deserve it. Instead of that choice somehow being demeaning or unfair to her, her act of showing respect lifted them both up. One action had a double reaction. That's multiplication. But okay, I'm going to get to need number 3. Respect in communication. Women hold an incredible power in the way we communicate with our men, both husbands and sons. To build them up or to tear them down, to encourage or to exasperate. Some things just push a man's buttons. This goes beyond what we say, such as questioning a man's judgment or his abilities, and into how we say it and where we say it, which is the subject of the next section. What we say, where we say it, how we say it. On to the next section. The disconnect. In my interviews, a large number of men said something like this. When my wife says something disrespectful, I often think, I can't believe she doesn't know how that makes me feel. I had to reassure these men over and over that their wives probably didn't mean to disrespect them and were likely just clueless. Some things just push a man's buttons. This goes beyond what we say and into how we say it. Let me give you several common examples of how a man might hear something negative where the woman never intended it. Hearing disrespect. Not long ago, I was asking Jeff and one of his married colleagues about the dynamic of men wanting to do things for themselves. This man said, sometimes if something breaks in the house, I just want to take a crack at it before I call an expert. If my wife says, well, you're really not a fix-it type person, I feel so insulted. She's not rude about it or anything, but it's like she doesn't respect me enough to believe that I can figure it out if I put my mind to it, even if it takes me a while. This man's wife was one of my closest friends, and I know that she respects her husband and would never intentionally disparage him, or disparage, disparage him. So it was an eye-opening to hear that what was, to her, an offhand remark was something he took extremely seriously. And if I may delicately say so, extremely wrong. Hearing disappointment. In the survey, as in life, a sizable minority of men read something negative into a simple female reminder. I asked men what would go through their minds if their wife or significant other reminded them that the kitchen wall was damaged and it still had to be fixed. More than 1/3 of these men took the reminder as nagging or as an accusation of laziness or mistrust. Several months ago, I met with my friend and book agent Calvin Edwards at Starbucks to start designing the original survey questions. When we saw a local pastor, Calvin knew I ran the kitchen wall question by him and asked what would go through his mind Consider his eliminating response. Pastor, I'm irritated because I have to be reminded. I hate being reminded. Calvin, why is that a problem? Look at your day planner there. You set up systems to remind yourself of things all the time. Pastor, inherent in his reminder is a statement of disappointment. For me as a man, that is saying that I failed. I hate to fail. It's not the statement that bothers me, it's the implications of the statement. Now, another interesting thing about the survey results was that those who jumped to negative conclusions were still in the minority. A larger group, fully half of the men polled, simply didn't place a high priority on a task as the wife did and said it would get done eventually. Hearing attacks. I got an excellent example of how our words can be misinterpreted as an attack. When Chuck Cowan and I were discussing a survey question I had drafted, do you know how to put together a romantic event that your partner would enjoy? Chuck, that question won't work because you started off in an attacking mode. Me? Huh? Chuck, you started off suggesting, the man is inept. Me thinking to myself, suggesting the man is inept? What is he talking about? Chuck, soften it a bit. Put it in a context that isn't so blatant. Simply by adding a context sentence to the beginning. Suppose you had to plan an anniversary event for your partner. Do you know how? The question was deemed totally appropriate, not to step on male's toes or question a male's adequacy. Apparently, the difference is all about softening the approach. I'll repeat the before question, which was like this, just so you can hear the difference between the two. Do you know how to put together a romantic event that your partner would enjoy? Now the softened one. Suppose you had to plan an anniversary event for your partner. Do you know how? Next section. Crank up that filtering system. No matter what we think we are saying, in the end, what matters is what the guy is hearing. Obviously, some people can be overly sensitive, and we can't walk on eggshells all the time. Nor do we want to pass up the opportunities to help them understand our communication wiring. No matter what we think we are saying, in the end, what matters is what the guy is hearing. That said, considering that most men appear to be highly sensitive to disrespect, including seeing disrespect where none is intended, I would argue that it is not the average man who needs to be less sensitive to a woman's words, but the average woman who needs to be more sensitive to her man's feelings. I'm going to repeat that last section before I end this take so you can certainly think on that. I'm going to end it on this last note. I would argue that it is not the average man who needs to be less sensitive to a woman's words, but the average woman who needs to be more sensitive to her man's feelings. And that does complete this third take. Please stay tuned to Poem Praise 2 for the fourth take, take number 2. We're certainly going to get through this chapter. It's kind of a long chapter. We're going to get through it, though, till we make it to chapter number 3. The Performance of a Lifetime is that chapter title. Right now, we are on page 40, so stay tuned till our next take of chapter 2 on Poem Praise 2. I want you and your family to be blessed and have a wonderful rest of the evening. Till next time. Later, y'all.